Hello fellow Helldivers, Thornton here, and there's some exciting news. It looks like Helldivers 3 is on the way, but not really. It's more Helldivers 2.5, and what that could mean for an engine upgrade, as it is something that would really help the game out a lot. We're going to go over all of that. Without further ado, let's jump into today's topic. So fellow Helldivers, there has been a lot of talk this week from the developers, the game directors, the CEOs, all over at Arrowhead Studios, and there's a lot of stuff that we've gotten insight into that makes the game seem very interesting and the upgrades that are possible for the future. The first thing I want to go over is that, yeah, we have a brand new major order. We're not fighting the Illuminate anymore. We got to go ahead and secure and hold a couple of different planets against the bots so that we can go ahead and do the construction of the Center for Citizen Surveillance and Security. If you don't go ahead and get this completed, make sure that you guys go ahead and face the wall. That being said, there's some really cool stuff about switching to an engine, Helldivers 2 and Helldivers 3, that I want to talk about today. First thing I want to go over is that there was a fun joke made by a user on Twitter saying Helldivers 3 coming in 2032 will add 8 players in swimming, and Johan said we are growing Helldivers 2 into Helldivers 3. So you may be correct, except maybe swimming. I don't think it's possible to swim in a heavy plate carrier with a rifle and support weapons. And there's something very interesting about that. Now, Helldivers 2 has only been out for 1 year. That much is very obvious for everyone, but that being said, it's a live service game, so don't expect there to be a Helldivers 3, at least not in the very far future, as it is going to continue to get updates to this game right now and expand that. That being said, there's going to be a little bit of a problem with that. Some of you might have already noticed that there are some matchmaking issues right now. Once the Illuminate arrived, it's very hard to stay in a game with your friends. People get kicked left and right. That could be a server stability issue, more so than an engine issue, but Johan not too long ago said that Helldivers 2 was built on an archaic engine. This is true. Our crazy engineers had to do everything with no support to build the game to parity with other engines. And yes, the project started before it was discontinued. In case you didn't know, Helldivers 2 was actually built on the Autodesk Stingray engine, which was discontinued in 2018. And as it points out in this article, at some point in the future, if it wants this game to go to Helldivers 3 and even longer, it's going to probably need to do an engine upgrade because it's going to help streamline support and allow the studio to take on more developers. The reason that is key is that because the engine is discontinued, if you hire on any new staff, you're going to have to teach them how to use this outdated engine that is going to continually give you problems. And we'll go into that in a little bit. And also, this isn't the most unusual thing we've seen for games in the past. Fortnite was actually moved to Unreal Engine 5 from Unreal Engine 4 in 2022. The thing though is that's from Unreal to Unreal, so it's unknown right now if you could even port Helldivers 2 over to a brand new engine, but it would actually be something that is quite critical. That being said, there was also one other thing Johan did talk about, where he went over about talking about a new game that his studio is working on, and he showed an old concept of a game they wanted to make. And actually, it seems to be a game where you play as a pilot, but in that bottom screenshot, I'm almost 99% sure that thing floating in the air, that's an observer. We can see a model that iron sights are actually rendered right here, and those look like exactly the same thing. So it does kind of make me wonder, once again, I think at some point we're going to get some kind of flying vehicles. It seems like Arrowhead has actually developed stuff like that in the past on Stingray. So it would be pretty cool to see something like that finally make it into the game, especially because they've tinkered with that in the past. But again, we're going to go ahead and talk about why it is so critical and important that if Helldivers 2 is going to continue on for about the next 10 years instead of a Helldivers 3, the reason for an engine upgrade is absolutely paramount. I was browsing the Helldivers subreddit the other day and I saw this cool image that popped up, and it shows a mech from the first game of Helldivers 1, and people were like, what is this? Why is it crashed? Why don't we have access to it? And there was a very interesting chain of comments down below it. And one that I found particularly interesting was one that actually ended up getting deleted by the moderators, and then the entire thread below it got locked. And you can kind of get a sense of what they were talking about. As Hidden Camilla says right here, oh man, I cannot imagine the undertaking of swapping to a game to Unreal. Massive amount of work to do, especially with a relatively small team. And well, then it goes on to say, Palworld managed to do it, but it's a massive undertaking. They pretty much dead it after development was finished, so like in alpha. And I had to dig down deeper, and eventually I found the original comment, and it says, there are many leaks stating the devs are looking at Unreal Engine. And as they aren't working on any other games in the near future, it's heavily speculated they might try to do an engine swap in 2025. And well, I went searching on Google to try to, find any substantiating information about this. Couldn't find anything, but that being said, it's not that big of a leap to make. There is one huge challenge that this game is going to continue to have and face over and over again, and that's the fact that it does utilize a pretty much dead game engine. Downside is they've got to try to navigate the complexities of maintaining and optimizing an engine that lacks any ongoing support. If you are a fan of any of my other channels, you might realize this is kind of an issue with Apex Legends, where it uses the source engine that's been heavily modified from the Titanfall version, and while it's not completely discontinued, discontinued in the same way that Stingray's is. It is such a garbled mess of an engine, and 90% of the development team that worked on the Source 2 engine modified for Titanfall are no longer there. So the new development team comes in and it creates a huge issue, which I do worry about the Helldivers 2 team. As they hire on new devs in the near future, which they will inevitably have to do if the game continues to be successful, those devs are not going to be as adept at working with an engine that simply isn't in use anymore, as they probably don't have any experience with it. In fact, Iron Sights, Asunder, and more actually bring up some interesting stuff, such as Asunder saying they cut helmet HUDs, which was something apparently supposed to come in for at least maybe the first person view. And then Iron Sights saying, yeah, they have cut so much nearly complete content, real, maybe they'll come back. And that brings up something very interesting, that no matter what you see on a data mining or leaking channel, whether it be Helldivers or any other video game, nothing is ever 100% confirmed. It's shown it's always very possible that it either gets completely scrapped or that, you know, the devs decided that it just would not work in their game. One of the major issues with Arrowhead and adding in so much of the new stuff they are doing is the fact that the game engine that they built it on is already extinct. It just does not simply exist in the game anymore for upgrades, and they can't really do anything to modify the engine as of now, which means that if it does not work, if say the new vehicles that do come in, if they don't work on the dev build, even though they were about 70% complete, if it ends up just like crashing your PS5 or your PC, they simply can't put it into the game. So there's going to always be a back and forth between publisher, developer, and engine limitation. Even with all that going on though, with the old engine, the game is still absolutely fantastic and is overall a top tier game, and I am absolutely in love with it. That being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into some community clips now. Don't forget to submit your own to me at Thornton Smash on Twitter. Without further ado, let's roll it.
Reloading! Sending in an eagle.
Allied destroyer joining squadron, deploying Helldiver to combat zone.
Today the light of liberty will grace the skies of
Allied destroyer joining squadron, deploying Helldiver to combat zone.
Oh, that was unfortunate. And that was a douche move.
Joining squadron, deploying Helldiver. ETA T-minus 1 minute 30 seconds.
Let me know down below, do you guys think the game could use an engine upgrade, or would you rather them just work on Helldivers 3 and just port everything over? Also, don't forget to check out this video and this video right here where I cover Helldivers 2 news on the daily. And until next time, everyone, thanks for stopping by. Keep spreading democracy.